Hello everyone. This is just a quick overview of kind of where we're at here going into Module 3. By now you should have completed all of the chapters for the Data Camp Introduction to R class. And that's going to be helpful because some of the concepts, like for example data frames and vectors and that kind of stuff, will be useful right out of the starting gate, considering where we're at with the textbook. As I've indicated on a number of occasions, the textbook is moving faster than I want to move, so I'm going to try to mitigate that to a certain extent and make this, an opportunity for you to learn about the data mining process, still using R without R becoming an overwhelming sort of part of the class. What I want to do is I want to go through the steps in the data mining process that we have discussed so far, or that we've kind of worked through so far. And one of those is actually step 3, which is sort of data visualization, which you will work through by going through a module or a video that I've created for you. I will give you the video. I will give you the data set. I will give you an R script that you can actually load into R. And when you watch the video, it will all make sense. And then you'll have an assignment that you have to do. Anyway, so let's talk first of all about the steps so far in the data mining process that we've actually talked about. The first step is one that we really haven't talked about that much, but we're going to talk about it now, and that is sort of what happens before a data mining effort. In almost every case, data mining is actually undertaken because somebody somewhere has ran into a need to do it. In other words, let me give you an example. So you are a store and you have run all year long and you've generated sales and tracked all your sales, and you get to the end of your year and you realize that certain sales lines aren't selling very well, or they're not selling as well as you had expected. And you need to look back at the data and find out what you can determine as to why that is. That's a real world problem. It's a real world condition. It's a real world sort of need for knowledge, a need for data mining. And that can drive a data mining effort. We could then break into those 100,000 records and we could find out, a little bit of demographic information about our customer base. Maybe the products that aren't selling well aren't good matches for our customer base. Or we could find out other information, sort of like correlations between customers who bought A bought B, but customers who bought B did not buy C. So things like that would tell us more about our data. And then what we could do with that information is we could change our marketing tactics and change our sales tactics. So there could be a result that came out of that. But my point here is that there's always some real-world issue, real-world problem that is driving a data mining or data analysis effort. So we need to have a problem. If we don't have a problem, then we're just kind of data mining for the sake of data mining, and you can see how unfocused that would be. Why are we doing this? It's almost like we're trying to find a problem for a solution that doesn't really even exist. So we will always work with our stakeholders and work with the business people who come to us and say, hey, I have a problem. I need to know this. Can you find out for me this? And a lot of times they're not going to know what they don't know, and they're not going to know what they need to know. So when we start digging into a data set, we may find interesting stuff about that data set that the stakeholder is going to be very excited to know and didn't even know to ask before. But initially everything starts with a problem, and then we dig into the problem and we see what we can learn. The next step is, once we've identified a problem, then we have to get the data. What data represent the problem? This can be a very cyclical process. We may think that, for example, on our 100,000 record sales data, we may think that all we need is customer name, customer address, and a couple other bits of information about the customer and what they did or did not buy. We load that data set up, we access that data set, we load it up, and then we realize the questions have expanded. And we want to know, in fact, we may actually look at the data and determine certain things that make us ask other questions. So we may go back and get more data, and we may look at more fields, and we may look at more information. So that's why I say this can be a cyclical process. Or sometimes it can be very straightforward. And we pull down the data and we look at it and we figure out what we want and we're good. But getting the data is the next step. Now, getting the data can be easy. It can be simply dumping, like a CSV file or something like that out of a large database. There's only one source of the data. We can pick the fields that we want, and it's a pretty easy process to get that done. Or, as in most cases, the data are not in a single place, or they're not well defined, or we're not sure if they're well defined. And so we have to sort of take some time to sort of plan out what are our possible sources of data, where can we get them, and if we're coming from multiple sources, do we want to merge those data sources into a single data set? And if so, how are we going to do that? And how will the records match up? So that's kind of a big deal. Now, we haven't talked about that too much in this class so far because the data sets are being provided to us. But it's still important for us that once we get the data set and actually look at it and figure out what's in it, see what the data are, and see what we can do with them. The next step is what we're talking about this week, and that is to explore, clean, and pre-process the data. We're actually really going to do visualization on the data at this point because we want to know, first off, are the data clean? What do they show us? Are there any outliers in the data that we need to sort of be watching out for? And is there any missing data? So much of what we do with the data set, and we're using the Boston housing data set, which you'll see in the other video that I'm posting, much of what we're going to do is look at median value of houses around the Boston area that have various other values that are associated with them. So we want to first pull that data up. And when we pull that data up, there's a whole bunch of different tools, a whole litany of different tools that we can use to look at what's in that data file. So what I show you in the other video is how to bring the data in and then load it using sort of different plots like scatter plot and histograms and bar charts and box plots and even a heat map and even some other sort of standard plots that are available in R. So go ahead and work through that video because I think that will sort of get us through step 3 where we're looking at the data and figuring out what we need to do and sort of clean it up and get it all set up, get it ready to go. The next step for us will be to reduce data dimensionality if necessary. And I will put together a video just like the one I just put into your class that will tell you all about that and what we're doing there, and we'll work through some examples there. So if you have any questions, let me know. But what I want you to do for this week is to work through the video that I gave you on viewing data, to follow the instructions in that video for submitting your exercise, and then get ready to talk about reduction of data dimensionality for next week.